5 elements, 5 flavors. Find out why these are important with our herbs and with your health. In pretty much any ancient system of medicine, they looked at the flavor of an herb or the flavor of a food as being important for telling you what it is doing in the body. In traditional Chinese medicine, we have 5 elements and 5 flavors. There's the water element with the salty flavor, the wood element with the sour flavor, the fire element with the bitter flavor, the earth element with the sweet flavor, and the metal element with the pungent flavor. So let's dive in. Water element, salty. So of course, salt would be a classic thing. You can taste this, you know what the salty flavor looks like. I didn't have a bag of this on hand, but Bacopa is one of our best herbs to really kind of clearly show you this taste. One of my friends described it as tasting like a hamster cage smells, and while that's true, and that's something about all the tastes here, although it may have a predominant one of these flavors, there's definitely uniqueness to each and every herb. So Bacopa is really salty, like really salty. That is a great herb to really understand this salty flavor. In the wood element, we have the sour flavor. You'll see this with something like elderberry. The sour flavor can be indicative of vitamin C or flavonoids, like many of the berries are going to have. But you'll also find it with fermentation. So our pearl extract, for instance, is fermented, and it gives that sour flavor. Something else that can show you this is something like vinegar. So some apple cider vinegar right here. Then we have the fire element, and you might think that goes with pungent or the spicy flavor, but that's actually with the metal element over here. So with fire, we have bitterness, and that's probably because bitterness can actually cool that fire in the body. One of our most bitter herbs is, of course, Tongkat Ali. Extremely, extremely bitter. Probably the most bitter thing that most people have ever tasted. But you also find bitterness in many of the different herbs. For instance, the pine pollen may have some other characteristics, but it definitely has bitterness there. And of course, bitter would go with our green leafy vegetables, such as kale here. And then aloe is also one of the most bitter tasting things ever that I've had. Just put your tongue to the gel in here, whoo, it's bad. Once it's processed and most people get it in juice and whatnot, not nearly as bad. Fresh aloe, definitely bitter. Next up, the earth element with the sweet taste. Now, sweet is not just sweet as in sugar. So we have the goji berry for that. Definitely a sweet berry here. And it does have sugars in it. And we'd see that with something like an apple. But also just the presence of carbohydrates. So that sweet flavor is not necessarily just super sugary like we're used to today. So like a potato here would be sweet. Also our nettle root, fairly bland with the flavor of this extract, but that would definitely fall into that sweet flavor. Lastly, we have the metal element over here with that pungent. And pungent may be a word that not a lot of people use, so one of the characteristics of this would be spiciness. Something like cayenne pepper or chili powder. Herbally, we have albizia. This has an extremely pungent, a sharp flavor to it. It's quite interesting that it does that, and especially for something that can help people relax and calm their mood down and even be helpful for sleep, to have that spicy flavor. So sometimes we see that kind of opposite characteristic with this. Now, if we're talking the 5 flavors, I'd be remiss to not mention Schizandra, known as the 5 flavor fruit. Now, Schizandra is predominantly sour. That is the main flavor that's going to come across, and along with that, what is sometimes called a mouthfeel of astringent is going to be in there. However, it is the 5 flavor fruit, meaning that you can taste the saltiness in it, you can taste the bitterness in it, you can taste the sweetness in it, and you can taste the pungency as well. And because these 5 flavors are meaning that these herbs are working on these different elements, that's why Schizandra is a formula into itself. It is doing something a little bit for like every single system in the human body. Though once again, it is predominantly sour, and we do see the wood element having to do with the liver, and Schizandra being great for liver function. I also want to mention Shilajit. How would you characterize this resinous, tar-like flavor here? Well, I would say it is predominantly pungent. I would say it is there, but we definitely have some bitterness to it. We definitely have some sourness to it and some saltiness. I'm not sure if I would say it is sweet at all, but we see most of the flavor characteristics come across in Shilajit as well, which once again is indicating this is doing a whole lot in the body, working on a lot of different systems. The tastes are important, and there's good reason to actually be tasting your herbs, not just taking capsules so you get that effect within your body, but to be actually tasting. In the standard American diet, in the Western diet, we have said, you know what, bitterness, I don't really like you. Sourness, you're not so good. And look, if you go and only do this, you are eating a very restrictive diet. You are not getting much else out there. So enjoy the taste. Come to love them. Our tastes are malleable. And a lot of people thinking things taste bad has to do more with their mindset than actually allowing the body to come to enjoy those things. I used to not like any fruits or vegetables, but now I eat them all. So your tastes are malleable. Come to enjoy these different flavors that are available from the abundancy of nature. Find more about these herbs and so much more information over at LostEmpireHerbs.com.